Howdy folks, Cody here with Edge Pro, and today we're going to try something a little bit different. We're just going to do kind of a sharpening vlog type of a deal. Had a customer mail in a knife, so wanted to read you the back and forth here. Dear Cody, I recently left a comment on one of your YouTube videos asking you to do a sharpening video on a Benchmade 940. You responded asking me to send you my knife for you to make a video with, so here it is. I have an Edge Pro Apex and I have had trouble sharpening the 940 in the past, so hopefully you can help. I really appreciate your help and your sharpening system. Thank you so much. From Brent. Well, Brent, thank you for sending your knife in. I'm really excited to get to sharpen this knife. We actually get this knife in all the time for the free sharpening demo that we offer to anybody out there who's interested in a sharpening system. And this is one of the most common knives we get. Hopefully, Brent, by the end of this, you are going to be an expert on sharpening this knife. Alright guys, so this is Brent's Benchmade 940. He must be using this knife for one particular job. It looks like it's been hit over and over again in the same place there. We'll take a look at the other side. Okay, Brent, so I was not able to see what exactly it was you were struggling with, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the reason you were most likely struggling to sharpen this knife is because you were attempting to rest this knife on the flat. The flat is that little section that I just put that green X on. So when you're trying to rest on that tiny little surface there, then the knife is going to have a tendency to want to rock on you while you sharpen. This is what happens. You're resting on the flat, and as soon as you begin to apply a little bit of pressure to the knife, then you start to get this. And you find yourself wrestling, trying to force the knife to rest on the flat section of the blade. And this leads to hand fatigue, and it leads to frustration, and you find yourself asking, what the heck am I doing wrong? Here's the solution. You just simply want to shift from resting on what we call the flat to what we call the face of the blade. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just put some felt tip marker on the bevel of this knife. And Brent did not ask me for any specific angle, so I'm just going to try and match the angle that's already there. And we're going to just start at a low angle and gradually raise that angle until we remove the marker all the way out to the edge while we rest on the face. So we'll start down here at about 15 degrees. And I'll just do a couple light passes, and I am clear at the back of the bevel. I'm not even close to an edge. So let's go up to 18. Still a long ways away. Let's do 21. We're getting a little bit closer, but I still feel like we got a little ways to go. Now I'm set up to 24 degrees. Resting on the face. That is what we're looking for, folks. Now I'm discovering something else about this knife. Sometimes I'll reapply that, and it's a good idea to check the angle of that knife all the way out to the tip. And you'll see that this knife is actually sharpened at a little bit lower angle at the tip, which is the reverse of what I actually normally find. Usually I'll find a little bit higher angle at the tip. But let's turn it over, and we're going to check the other side too and make sure that this bevel is symmetrical, meaning ground evenly on both sides. You know, it's actually surprisingly symmetrical. The stone was removing marker pretty much along the full width of the bevel out to the edge, everywhere until I got to this last little section of the tip, and it did it the same way on both sides. So I'm gonna end up probably just leaving it set exactly where it's at and sharpen the whole knife set at 24 degrees, but it's likely that you're still gonna see a little bit of the original bevel behind the bevel that I'm gonna be creating when I'm done sharpening. But that will eventually disappear over time as you sharpen this knife over and over again. Alright, so I was actually using the 1000 grit stone to check my angle setting, and I'm going to be using a 400 grit stone to begin sharpening this knife. So I'm just going to let the weight of the stone pin the face of the blade to the machine. And that's another thing you can do to help determine whether or not you want to sharpen on the flat or the face, is just rest the stone on there and apply just a little bit of pressure and see what the knife does. Wow, this thing is sharpening really fast. I'm pretty confident that we're gonna have a burr after just another pass or two. I can feel that burr just starting to form. It's a pretty light burr. I like to have that burr feel just a little bit more aggressive than that before I move to the next stone. And so at this point, I have developed a really consistent and even burr along the full length of the blade. I can see a little bit of the original bevel at the tip of the knife. But I'm going to actually skip the 600 grit stone, and I'm going to go straight to the 1000. As I'm making these last passes with my 1000 grit stone, I'm really setting myself up to use the polishing tapes next. So I'm going to take some very light passes to try and reduce the burr as much as possible. And that's going to make it a little bit easier on those polishing tapes. And it'll make it less likely that I'm going to tear them. Let's take a quick look at the edge, what it looks like finishing with the 1000 grit stone, and then we'll take another look at it after we've gone over it with the polishing tapes. Alright, this is the 1000 grit Edge Pro Waterstone finish. And so as a beginning step with the polishing tapes, I like to begin using pull strokes. So if there's any remaining burr left for that 1000 grit stone, this will just help kind of knock that burr down. Sometimes people will have a little bit of a difficult time with the polishing tapes because they can be very delicate, and it can be a little bit frustrating when you first start using them, when you tear them. But I'll start with some pull strokes, and I start going back and forth with just a little bit of pressure, and I just gradually add a little bit of pressure, and you can really put a nice polish on an edge in a short amount of time. So I began with pull strokes on this side. I'm going to turn it over, and now that I'm on this side, I'm going to repeat those pull strokes. Just initially. Now I'm going to start working it back and forth. Some guys like to spend a lot of time with their polishing tapes, or some guys even get into using different polishing compounds, and that's not really my thing. I just go over it a few times with the 2000 tapes, and then go over it a few times with the 3000 tapes, and it sure does leave a pretty nice polish. I mean, there's always going to be room for improvement, and some guys like to really geek out on that. You will notice that I am using these polish tapes mounted on the new hard anodized polish tape blanks, and I really think these things are pretty cool. So the hard anodizing just kind of makes it a little bit more resistant to scratching, the blank itself, that is. Here we are, all finished up after the 2000 and 3000 grit polishing tape. Okay, Brent, so I really appreciate you sending that knife in, and I'll get it back in the mail to you. I'll email you a tracking number. If there's anybody out there interested in the sharpening system, you're welcome to take advantage of our free sharpening demo. We do ask that you limit it to one knife per potential customer. At this point, it's just an open invitation. At some point, if we get overwhelmed with knives that are coming in for the free sharpenings, then we may cut it off. As long as the sharpening demo is up on the website, then it is still going. Send in your knife, let us sharpen it for you. Maybe we'll make a video about it, and maybe we won't, but you will be impressed with the sharpening system. We'll get it back to you, turned back around in a timely manner, and then you can decide if you want to purchase an Edge Pro yourself. So anyways, you guys, have a great day, and hopefully we'll be making another video soon. So take care.